Twister, Blister, Fister was a great...
Twister Fister, the porn parody.
Still Twisting. Is essentially about a group of, not meteorologists, but storm chasers that are on the track of tornadoes across the country to unleash Dorothy. I know that sounds like a porn. But to unleash Dorothy into the Twister so that they can gain a new warning system, because Dorothy is essentially these little sensors that if they go up inside the tornado, because no one's ever been able to get the measurements of inside the tornado, they'll be able to predict the path of a tornado from then on and give those early warning systems out. So that's essentially what it is. Bill Paxton used to lead this, rough and tumble kind of Sammy Hagar group.
The Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and...
What are we, some kind of storm chasers?
Yeah, we are. But... he used to lead this group, and he decided, enough's enough. Helen Hunt, you might she actually was cute in this. I don't know why.
Yeah, man.
She had that dirty, grimy look, but it worked for me. I like that. She probably smelled like dead birds sometimes, but you got to push past it and fuck it. But he left her. They were married. They left. He left her, and then he's got a new life. He's going to be a meteorologist now, and he's got a new everything. And he comes back because she didn't sign the fucking divorce papers. He's like, look, I got a new truck. I got a new wife. She's a psychotherapist, but whatever. Sign my paper so I can go.
She's a PP therapist.
Yeah, but she's trying to keep him there, obviously, throughout the movie. And, crazy stuff ensues. And also, Cary Elwes is in this, and he's the bad guy. And Cary Elwes is such a great antagonist of any film. And if he's the asshole, you know it's going to be good, because he really has got that part locked down. I love the way he is in that. He's such a dirty, douchey bitch. I don't know. I never liked him. I mean, I love the guy, but I hated his character in this because he's such an ass.
Seymour Hoffman's in this too,
Yeah.
which is crazy because he just passed recently. Not really recently, but semi-recently. He just passed...
The Suck Zone.
The Suck Zone.
The Suck Zone.
And not just him, but the dude from Ferris Bueller Days... What's wrong with me?
Ferris Bueller. Why are you screaming with your hands? I didn't do anything.
I sound like the Rogue One trailer. But yeah, he's in this. The best part about this is the crew. And what's weird about the crew throughout this movie is that it seems like every 10 minutes a new member pops up. The dude from People Under the Stairs is in this all of a sudden.
We've seen him multiple times.
There's the one dude who's rolling down the highway, sweeping down the plains. That guy's in this. And even though the people in the crew have the tiniest little parts, they all just seem to make their little mark. Even Aunt Meg. I mean, I love everybody in this movie. And you know what? This movie has a rotten rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, that goes to show you that Rotten Tomatoes sucks a big old dick in the sky, because that makes zero sense. I know, it makes you feel like scanners.
There's
vomit.
There's dumb shit in the movie, okay? I'll give it that. There's dumb shit in the movie. This is a slow review, obviously. It's been out since '96 or whatever.
You haven't seen it.
I mean, come on. At the end of the movie, we'll get to that, but they literally go inside of a tornado and come out and his shirt's still tucked in. I mean, there's dumb stuff in it, and there's over-dramatic, stereotypical script stuff in it. The worst part of the movie is probably when they're sitting at Aunt Meg's having dinner, and they're all sitting there and they're having a good time, and his new wife goes, "Has anybody ever seen an F5?" And everybody goes,
yeah, no, that was weird. She just asked if there was another category of a tornado.
And everybody's like, we'll talk about that.
Well, there was also that scene, and then there's a scene where he's staying on the back of his truck, and he's like, well, this is what these guys are trying to do. They're like, yeah! I was like, it's so corny, it's such cheese, but it works. And you know what? You're right, the ensemble cast in this film, it shouldn't work the way that they are, as far as actors and individuality go and how they interact with each other throughout the film. It shouldn't work, but it does work for some reason. And it's kind of like a big brass band back in the 30s or something, like a jazz band. Even that trumpet player that gets no ass really helps our band. It all comes together perfectly. True. And okay, so as far as the special effects go on the tornadoes, they still look good to me. I think they look fucking good. I mean, yeah, can they be made better with today's technology? Sure. I mean, yeah, I guess. And is that little growl that the fucking tornado has, every time it sounds like your belly when you haven't had a fucking lunch in 8 years? Yeah, it does. It sounds it kind of, it is a little cheesy in those moments, but it's still cool to me. I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes have been smoking. Probably a lot of cock, but I don't know why they're giving this a rotten score. I mean, there's nitpicky things you could say. Maybe that detracts, but overall, you're going to give it a rotten score?
I think it's beautiful that they give it a rotten score, man, because it just goes to show you that fans have a different aspect than critics do, and critics should be just fans, but they're not. But anyways, aside from that, when you talk about the special effects of the movie, dude, you're right. What I noticed in this movie more than anything is that if you watch it on Blu-ray, it's not as good. This is one of, maybe 10 movies in history that, it's best watched on VHS or DVD, because I bought it on Blu-ray a couple years ago and watched it, and when you watch it on Blu-ray, you can see all the CGI imperfections so much up close, and you're and granted, even then, for that time, what they did with those tornadoes, when there was no, classic tornado movie out. This is the quintessential tornado movie, by the way.
Well, but I mean, we have Devin Sawa on
Night of the Twisters, man. That's underrated.
It's fucking awesome.
But this is the quintessential tornado movie, and the thing is that you watch it on DVD. It's the best way to watch it because it's a little bit muddled and you feel like you're in the truck. And one of the best things that this movie does is, you know, and it's weird because it's storming outside right now and it's all green and gray and stuff like that.
Greenage.
The number one thing that this movie does, man, is atmosphere. When they on purposely leave the camera outside of the truck when they're driving and all the scenes they're driving, because you can see the rain hitting it and you can see, it literally feels like you're in a city where there's like been 10 storms and it's just aftermath after aftermath. It's really, really underratedly atmospheric, this entire film is.
This was a movie that, even, like, I watched it several times when it first came out when I was a kid. I thought it was an amazing movie, and it was like the first time when I watched it, I was like, I want to go be a storm chaser. That's what I want to do.
Everybody
It gets you pumped to go be a storm chaser. I was like, Mom, I'm taking my bike and I'm going. I'm gonna chase these dangerous storms, and you can't stop me. And it was like, but because it's done so well, it's a high octane action movie with some drama thrown in there with great acting, and it's got like a little. You're right. It's got the atmosphere that you need. That kind of scary. It's not really scary, but kind of like on your edge of your seat, what's going to happen. And I will say, one of the most iconic scenes for me in this movie is at the drive-in when The Shining's playing, and that big motherfucker comes down right when Jack Nicholson says, "Here's Johnny," and it's like boom. I'm like, it's so great. I mean, I don't know if that was like on purpose. It probably was, as far as like showing The Shining, because that was probably the director's favorite movie or something. But just that one specific scene when that happens looks so amazing on film.
Two things I thought about that is I always think of Twister every time I go to a drive-in, and B, why don't more drive-ins play classic horror movies?
I know, dude. That was
awesome. We watched this so many times growing up. I saw it in the theater maybe 3 times, and for back then, I mean, I didn't have a car. I couldn't just drive myself to the theater.
You had to walk.
But I ended up going to see it like 3 different times. I love this movie.
Did you do the rule of the road? You gotta suck dick. The rule of the road.
You gotta follow the good book. But I will say this. When we were kids, we were like kind of obsessed with tornadoes. Like we would draw pictures of tornadoes. We had this National Geographic VHS that we always kept at your all's house, at my mom's house. That we would always like, you want to watch the tape? Let's watch the tape. And we'd pop it in and we'd all watch it, me, you, and your brother. And we loved it. Was like just these videos of tornadoes and stuff.
And we would watch it and then we'd say, put on the suit. We would go out like act like we were chasing tornadoes.
But it was awesome. Like I'd go outside and pick up the dirt in the ground like Paxton did and be like, it's moving east. There was a lot of disaster movies coming out at the time when this came out, and this is just like I said, it's the quintessential tornado movie. The tornadoes look awesome. Yeah. I mean, again, when you take a really close look at it, maybe they don't, but they look awesome for what they were.
I thought they look great.
And it's one of those movies that goes through a certain series of events. Like the movie starts, you meet everybody, and then we go chase some fucking storms, Johnny. Like they go in, we chase one storm, we take a break for a couple minutes, we get something to eat, we have an argument about something, we chase another storm, take a break, chase another storm, and it's just it keeps going and going and going.
For a piece of that cake.
And the storms get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, we finally get to see the F5, which is like the, you know, in a lot of ways, this is like the Moby Dick tale. It's the Great White. Like it's the big thing that she's always been chasing, Helen Hunt. I mean, we haven't talked much about her yet. She is a great actress, and she does really well in this film. And especially the chemistry between her and Bill Paxton works so well. Yeah. But that is her goal, is to finally catch Pecos Bill, that bitch, F5 tornado, because that's ultimately what killed her family, or her father, I mean. And we do get to see it, and it is a big bitch. It is awesome the way they shot that, and they show it like a monster. They really, the camera work and the special effects, and even the growling. I know that people would probably say, well, that's cheesy, but it just adds to the effect of this gigantic monster that they've been chasing their whole career, and they finally get a chance to confront it. Yeah, I mean, did they go inside of a tornado and their legs didn't get ripped off? Yeah. I mean, did they get held in place by a little belt and shit? Yeah. Is that stupid? Okay. It's Bill fucking Paxton and Helen Hunt, and that scared me. But
it's unrealistic as I mean, everything is unrealistic for the most part. Like they get so close to these tornadoes, and the end scene is just absolutely fucking ridiculous. But this is a popcorn entertainment movie that managed to put a lot of like I don't like emotion, but it managed to make you care a lot about the characters. So if you look at it as a popcorn entertainment disaster film, and you come out of it, you'd be, I feel like, really, really impressed. But if you go into it, you're going to come out and go, well, this wasn't real, this wasn't real, this wasn't real, and who cares, man? Well, it's fun.
That guy's like a boring motherfucker that told his kids at 2 years old, there's no Santa Claus, get a job.
But it's fun. Who doesn't want to go? That's what the crowd wants. It may be unrealistic, but we want to get inside of that fucking tornado. Like when when they're underneath underneath the bridge, like, I want to see it!
You know what? If that had been my bitch, I'd be like, I'd start. If she was like trying, I was like, fine, go. By the way, I was gonna say that Bill Paxton in this is Savage level 105%.
He really is.
Because when he tells Joe, when he finally, they finally had this moment where Joe and him have confronted each other and they're screaming at each other, and he's like, "You got me, Joe," and he's like saying that stuff, and the radio is on, and his new wife Melissa is listening to everything.
Butt dialed her,
and he knows. I know Bill Paxton knew this, but they show the next scene, and I kind of get this where maybe a lot of critics were like, "This is stupid," because the next scene they're at the hotel, right? They're at the motel, and it's like there was no interaction between him and Melissa. It was just like they just went back to the hotel, and they probably had an awkward silence on the way, and they didn't say anything, but. At that point, if I'd been Melissa, I'd be like, okay, I'm fucking done. Like, you've literally embarrassed me. Even Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's like the funny guy in this, didn't have anything to say. He's holding the broken umbrella. I was like, oh shit. Like,
you people are crazy!
He's like, what?
We got cows!
I like that. Also, Philip Seymour Hoffman, when he's just so cool, man. He's like, did you just miss that truck? He's like, that was awesome!
Bill, she just missed the truck.
He's like, that's intense. That's intense.
But she was, man. Like, she was so wild. I mean, I get it, maybe but they acted like they acted like it was Hotel Transylvania and her dad had kept her captive all these years. Like, she comes out and she sees the steak and she's like, oh my god, a steak.
Yeah, Bill Paxton had to be swinging like a huge fucking donkey dick or something for her to stay around, because most girls like that, they're gone within the first 15 minutes. If you can't get the paper signed, like, come on, Bill, let's go. She was like, for her credit, she did hang around, but I didn't feel like that fit with her character. Again, we didn't explore much with her character because she really has a flat development throughout the film. She's still the same, but it was thrown in there for, I guess, he was starting a new life, and that's what it was. But at the end of the day, man, Paxton rocked the fuck out of this.
We gotta talk about Paxton, dude. Like, this is like, there's everybody quotes Paxton, game over, man, all the stuff, his role in True Lies, everything. But
they say you're a demon, I don't believe it.
This movie goes underrated, man. Like, just one little scene that I feel like is a microcosm of how awesome he is and how nobody ever was or will be like him again, is when the house falls into the middle of the road. And again, this movie had balls. They're willing to do shit like that. Even if it doesn't make any sense, they're willing to do it. The house falls in the middle of the road, and they're getting ready to go through it, and he's like, nah! Just the way he screams, the way he acts out every single scene, he makes it totally believable, and he's weird, he's quirky. Like, when she's talking to him, she's like, they're driving, and she's like, did you lose your nerve? And he's like, watch this.
He's like that stepdad that you would have that wants to impress the kids, but he doesn't really know how, but when you challenge him, he'll make sure that I'm stepdaddy and I can do things. I like that part when they're driving, and she was like, he's like, she's a therapist, and then she looks at, he's like, you're always like, I knew you couldn't resist. And then he was like, I'm happy, I'm having a new life, and she's like, I'm with Melissa goes, I know her name. It's so good, man. He is so, because the one thing about Bill Paxton that will be missed is that whenever he took a role, whatever role it was, he would believe in it, and he would commit to that role, and he would be that character. And I think that's one of the cool, and he would bring like a certain charisma to each role. So it was like, even if he was a bad guy or like a kind of a slimy guy in whatever role he played, or just a weird farmer guy in Frailty, or in this where he's like a high octane guy, it always had that charm of Bill Paxton, and that's one of the sad things. And just like him and Philip Seymour Hoffman, they all committed to their role, and great actors, man.
People say this all the time, man, but he truly is one of a kind. And tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, can you think of one person that you go, hey, that guy reminds me of Bill Paxton?
No.
I bet you can't, man. He could have played the Joker. I mean,
Travis Tritt.
He's great in everything he does, and he's truly one of a kind. There's no one out there that is like Bill Paxton, so it really, really, really sucks.
I always felt that when Bill Paxton delivered his lines, it was done in such an effective way, you believed every fucking thing he said. And every time he was on screen, whatever those lines were, it was so well done with how he delivered them. I mean, it sucks that he's gone.
And you got people today like Jared Leto, who's like, oh, to get into a role, I have to send people use condoms and method act and all this. And you got a guy like Bill Paxton who he doesn't oversell it. He's not like, I'm fucking going for an Oscar. He takes a small role and he steals the show.
Comparing Jared Leto to Bill Paxton is like, he's a butt shadow of what Bill Paxton fucking always
I'm just saying, like, that's how a lot of actors are nowadays. They're like that.
Bitches.
He just did his job, man, and he was amazing. So, and I loved him in this movie. I loved everything about it.
I want to talk about really quick before we go off. I mean,
please tell us!
Before we go away, I want to say, when you mentioned during this time there was a lot of disaster films coming out, and he's not lying. I mean, back in '96, I think that Independence Day came out around that time. What else? Armageddon, Deep Impact. For me, Twister was the most like grounded movie of them all, and it obviously could happen with twisters and stuff. I know the aliens, whatever, you can believe what you want about that, but This just felt like, I don't know, man. When I watch it, it just feels like down and dirty rock and roll kind of shit. Like, I mean, some kind of cool thing that you could go and get behind and be like, yeah, I'm not gonna tell my mom I ever went to this concert, but it was good. And like, you would go and see Independence Day. It's like, yay, you know, July 4th, it was great. But this is like, I don't know, man. It was that dirty Dirk thing. I don't know what Dirk is, but it was good.
It was Dirk Nowitzki.
And Dirk Nowitzki.
It was a tall white guy who could hit threes, baby.
And his last name was Nowitzki. He's a commie, but we love him. I don't know if he is or not. But it's at the end of the day, Twister to me, I'm going to give it a 9.0, man. Like, it's worth a 9.0 to me. I don't know why Rotten Tomatoes does what they do, because they're dumb, but a 9.0 is a solid fucking score, and that's exactly what I would give it.
I give it a 9.5, man. It's nearly a 10 for me. I mean, you can't, not take away from some of the dumb stuff they do, even though I love it. Like, literally, in the end scene, like we said, they go into this field. It's pulling up shit out of the ground. It destroyed a fucking house, like multiple houses. It's an F5.
That's what tornadoes do.
And they tie a rickety belt to a pipe and hang on, and like they're fine. You know
what that was?
It's the suck zone.
I was thinking that was the tornado represented the Ghostbuster rage of what fucking Paul Feig did.
You sound like his new wife. She's like, when you said you chased tornadoes, I always said it was metaphorical.
No, she did not marry your penis. Okay, maybe she didn't just marry your penis. She married you too.
So yeah, it's a 9.5 for me. It's one of Bill Paxton's most underrated. Everything he did was underrated, but this is one of his most underrated roles. I love this movie. When I think of my childhood in movies, Twister's in there, man. It really is totally in there. And yeah, you're right. It's my favorite disaster movie of all time for sure. And and the thing is that it just had a charm that you'll never get again too, because even Into the Storm that came out a couple years ago was really good. I liked it. It was like a found footage tornado movie, and it was cool. But this was back, like we said, when this was when Night of Twisters came out and shit. Everybody seemed to like be in love with tornadoes this time. Maybe it's just because we were kids.
I don't know what it was, man. I mean, we had the Van Halen soundtrack going throughout the whole fucking thing.
Great,
it was amazing. Man. I mean, it was like I said, it was like a rock and roll movie with the disaster in the background. It was great.
They even had a cool ride. I don't think it's there anymore at Universal Studios that I went to. You go and you stand behind a rickety fence and you actually see tornadoes. I don't know how they did it, but the wind's blowing back and stuff. It's just this movie's just fucking. It's one of those movies, man.
You have to wear red heels.
Yeah,
click it 3 times.
It's high on my list. High on my list.
High.
I'm not saying lose. I'm saying tighten. So, comment down below, guys. What do you think about Twister? Do you side more with us that it's like a 9 to a 10 classic underrated fucking movie, or do you side more with others who think that it's just kind of hokey or whatever? Comment down below. Let us know what your thoughts are. And obviously, the question of the day is, what is your most memorable role ever by Bill Paxton for you?
Hey, man. By the way, before we go, please click those likes, because I feel like this. I just watched this movie, and every time I see the likes going up, I was like, please, Lord, let me get one more. Let me get just one more.
Let me just get one more.
Anyway, love you guys. You guys are fucking sexual. You're sexual beings. And thank you for taking this journey on this Twister titties.
Take off your pants. Comment down below.
Do that.
Let us know. And if you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button and get some fucking wham up in you. Christ, Joe, is that what you're thinking, Dan?
We watched a movie. Yeah. We watched a movie. We watched it. We watched a movie.